Hello everyone, welcome to the Azure Security Expert Series. I'm Ann Johnson and I lead Microsoft's Cybersecurity Solutions Group. In this episode, we are going to focus on how to empower your security operations teams with Azure Sentinel, Microsoft's SIEM solution that was born in the cloud. We will hear from Microsoft experts like John Lambert, who will show us how Azure Sentinel was used during our public preview to defend against previously undetected attacks. Steve Dispenza will share with us how Azure Sentinel will help you modernize your security operations also. We will also get to hear from our partner Accenture and one of our early preview customers, Rapid Deploy, on how they are using Azure Sentinel to strengthen the security of their organization. If you have any questions during this presentation, please use the chat window. Microsoft security experts are online to answer your questions throughout the entire session. Now, as part of my job, I get to meet security teams from virtually every industry around the world. They're doing amazing work to protect their organizations. This allows me to see and to understand how they are striving to keep up with the pace and the scale of cyber attacks. Traditional security information and event management solutions have not kept pace with the digital environment. I commonly hear from customers that they are spending more time with deployment and maintenance of SIEM solutions, and they are unable to handle the volume of data or the agility of our adversaries. This is why Microsoft knew the cloud was critical to the SIEM solution. The cloud enables a new class of intelligent security technologies to reduce complexity and to integrate with the tools that you depend upon. Azure Sentinel is that cloud-native SIEM, which enables security across the entirety of your enterprise in a very intelligent way. It has been available in public preview since March of this year, and we are thankful for this overwhelming response. More than 12,000 customers have joined us in this preview program. So together with you, as our design partners, we have continuously evolved the service capabilities to match your growing needs. I'm ecstatic to announce that Azure Sentinel is now generally available. It's ready for you to protect your organization. With Azure Sentinel, you do not need to deploy or maintain any infrastructure on-prem. You can just scale automatically in the cloud as you need. Azure Sentinel collects and analyzes data from all sources, on-prem to Azure itself, and even throughout other cloud environments. And it provides built-in artificial intelligence and automation to help you respond to threats faster. Of course, it's also backed by Microsoft's unique threat intelligence gained from analyzing trillions of diverse signals globally on a daily basis. Azure Sentinel blends the insights of Microsoft experts and artificial intelligence with the unique insights and skills of your own in-house defenders to uncover the most sophisticated attacks. To show how Azure Sentinel will help defend against threats with real-case examples, let me introduce you to John Lambert, a distinguished engineer and general manager here at Microsoft. John is the founder and head of the Microsoft Threat Intelligence Center, which we call Mystic. This is our center for excellence for security research, and its members develop security infrastructure, detections, and programs for many Microsoft security offerings. John, over to you.
Thanks, Ann. I founded the Microsoft Threat Intelligence Center 5 years ago to focus on adversary-based threats to Microsoft's customers. Attackers study customers, they study technology, we study back. Over 12,000 customers signed up to use the preview. We work with Azure Sentinel customers to understand their data and collaborate on threat scenarios. I'll show you how we used Azure Sentinel with them and how it improved their operations. One thing we know is that defenders need data. Security teams need data from all over the network. It's how we see. Our customers want to get access to their common data sources quickly. That's why there are built-in connectors for Azure AD, Office 365, Microsoft Cloud App Security, and Palo Alto Networks. We'll use them all today. Let me start with Office 365 and MCAS and show a feature called Fusion. The SOC needs their SIEM to work for them. Insight comes from seeing unrelated events linked together. The reality is that the SOC deals with a lot of alerts for benign activity because their SIEM has no context. With Fusion, behind the scenes, Azure Sentinel is mapping activity from alerts to the kill chain. It uses machine learning and a basic probability model to constrain edges. It builds connections using a stochastic process, similar to how epidemics and outbreaks are modeled. It calculates the kill chain connectivity metric, which is then used for scoring. Let's look at this alert. The first alert was a user logging in from an unusual location. The second was a forwarding rule that was added to the account's mailbox to forward email on. Fusion linked these two alerts together and identified an attacker progressing forward in the kill chain to steal data. A SOC analyst is going to want to validate this alert. We watched how SOC analysts triage alerts and build these steps into Azure Sentinel. Attackers think in graphs, and with the investigation graph feature, defenders can do so too. If you click Investigate from an alert, you'll be able to see all the relevant entities. You can see related alerts from any of the entities. If we click on the user here, we can see all the entities, whether they're the user accounts, the IP addresses, or other various alerts. And if we want to see the raw events, we can click Events and drop right down into the logs at the right spot. And then Azure Sentinel has a timeline view so that we can go and see all the aspects of the investigation in sequence here, from the anomalous access here to the suspicious inbox forwarding rule. After investigating, the SOC is going to need to remediate. Azure Sentinel makes this easy with playbooks. We built playbooks for the most common scenarios. They can be set to run manually or automatically when specific alerts are triggered. We can take any one of these playbooks, you can customize them, see when they're run, you can clone them and customize any of the steps yourself. Security playbooks in Azure Sentinel are based on Azure Logic Apps, which means that you get all the power, customizability, and built-in templates of Logic Apps. This example started with alerts. Security analysts also want to hunt proactively over data. I have several examples of how we're doing that. Let me start with the first one. One of our preview customers is a think tank in Washington, D.C. They are targeted by threat actors around the world because of their influence with government officials. They signed up as a private preview customer and granted access to their tenant data to analysts in my team. We identified an Office 365 account belonging to the tenant that was being targeted by a known threat actor. When we look at the logins, we see something unusual. Instead of coming from one IP, they were coming from different IPs all over the world in rapid succession. We can see here California, Georgia, Warsaw, Lyon. With this insight, we constructed a query in Azure Sentinel to look for this blueprint, a burst of logins from a geographically dispersed area in a short period of time. We discovered new malicious activity that the customer was previously unaware of. Their security people were able to respond quickly. Searching 60 days of data took about 2 seconds with Azure Sentinel. It was a great proof point that for Azure Sentinel, with the right tool on top of the customer's Azure Active Directory login data, which was super easy to connect, and the out-of-the-box functionality, we were able to uncover a sophisticated actor's activity. We worked with another preview customer and used this approach to identify compromise in their environment as well. This query was put on the community GitHub so that other customers can learn. We also have an open source community repository loaded with over 250 analytics across detections, hunting, and Jupyter Notebooks so that customers can start with the knowledge that Microsoft and the community already have. We're adding to it every day. We have contributions from threat experts across Microsoft, my team, and community members in Europe and North America, and we absolutely love working with customers on this. Here's an example of a Jupyter Notebook that one of my teammates wrote for Azure Sentinel. Sometimes the data you need to enrich your security information is not in a table, it's behind an API. This notebook, written in Python, uses data that's in Azure Sentinel and calls APIs to enrich it with threat intelligence. And there's a number of providers here. So here we see a PowerShell script with an encoded command line. This uses Python to decode it and then extract indicators from it and then look those up in threat intelligence providers from Alien Vault, VirusTotal, and others. Very cool. One thing that's important in the SIEM world are parsers for data. Many defenders around the world use the Sysmon tool by Mark Rusinovich. Multiple Mystic team members have contributed directly to the code over the years. You can see it supports many different event types with many different fields. Since it is so popular, we wrote a parser for Azure Sentinel that understands all of the fields and event types and published it to our GitHub. In another case, we worked with a preview customer where we saw an attacker trying to brute force account names. We used Azure Sentinel to devise a query to see the username guessing. Here you can see the attacker trying combinations of first name, last name, separated by different delimiters, an underscore, a dot, and a dash. We saw the OK HTTP user agent and thought it didn't make sense for that tenant. It was very unusual. We noticed the IP that user agent from was trying multiple different mobile user agent strings from a dictionary. So we wrote a regular expression to match them, and we saw many more password guesses. Note this login. You can see here Sony phones, LG phones, and here we have an attempted login from a phone claiming to be Windows Phone? Probably not. We're able to find several successful logins from this infrastructure, and the customer confirmed them as compromised and remediated them. Each query took seconds to run in Azure Sentinel, and this allowed us to quickly provide the information to the preview customer. All of these queries are on our GitHub. This example looked at logins where the threat actor was trying to infiltrate. Let's go to the other end of the kill chain where the actor may be trying to exfiltrate data. Azure Sentinel is built on top of Azure's powerful data tools. They can be used to spot data exfiltration. Defenders often work with logs with timestamps. In this example, this visualization is showing byte counts from outbound data transfers from Palo Alto firewall logs. Palo Alto has native integration with Azure Sentinel. With any firewall data, there are underlying patterns that make it hard to set atomic rules to spot outliers. We call these seasonality trends. This data shows several trends. We have day versus night, week versus weekend, and a general increase in traffic over time. What we need to do is determine the baseline and the underlying data and look for outliers. Azure Sentinel makes this incredibly easy to do with its built-in functions. And then we can easily see the spikes in the data and from excessive data transfers, including this one, which clearly happened on the weekend, and these other two data points here. This kind of hunting is made very easy by the visualization and analysis capabilities built into Azure Sentinel. You can see this query and other time series analysis ideas on our GitHub. We not only have these queries for firewall data, but Palo Alto also provided a dashboard that comes with Azure Sentinel to view their data because they know it best. We also have dashboards from many other partners. This helps security folks be productive right away. Azure Sentinel is a modern SIEM solution born in the cloud that uses all the underlying power of Azure to make the SOC more effective by saving time, enabling discovery of the most important insights using the community, and providing powerful machine learning features. My team is very excited to work with customers in the months to come and see what amazing things we can do together. Anne, back to you.
Thank you, John. It was great to see how Azure Sentinel helps SecOps teams with hunting tools, machine learning, and augments their expertise with insights from our own in-house experts like John. To get more details on the capabilities that John just shared with us, please allow me to introduce you to Steve Dispenza. Steve leads security product teams, including Azure Sentinel, here at Microsoft. Thank you for joining me, Steve.
Thanks, Ann. I'm excited to be here.
So, Steve, SIEM is a really critical tool for our customers, and yet almost every customer I talk to today has challenges implementing it. What are you hearing, and what are we doing about it?
Well, this is a hard problem. The digital footprint continues to expand at our customers. Data volumes are growing exponentially. And what we have found is that the traditional on-premises solutions to these problems are just not scalable any longer. In fact, just the other day, I heard from a CISO from one of our customers was sharing that more than half of their security team is now dedicated to just managing the infrastructure and machinery associated with their SIEM.
Wow.
So they've got to have a scalable solution that gets them past this. And so that's one of the focuses of Azure Sentinel, where we are working to empower our customers to focus on security and not just on infrastructure maintenance. The other feedback that we heard was just around noise. You know that our customers are stretched for talent, that there just isn't enough security talent out there yet today. And so enabling the resources at the customer to really focus on the most important problems is number one. So for us, that means limiting or eliminating the noise associated with alerts and allowing the SOC operators to focus on the most important threats quickly. My team has worked really hard to address these issues. And then, we've used experience we've gained ourselves at Microsoft over the past few years facing similar challenges. Sure. We've developed a lot of interesting technology to help us scale. And now I'm excited to be able to take that technology and ship it to our customers in the form of Azure Sentinel.
So, Steve, ultimately we need to enable the security teams to be ahead of the adversaries. So how does Azure Sentinel help the SOC teams stay ahead of the adversaries, considering the adversaries are always innovating also?
Yeah, it's a great point. So Sentinel is all about focusing the SOC's attention on the most important threats ahead of anything else. So the first thing we did is we designed Sentinel as a cloud-native SIEM. What that means is it was born in the cloud and designed for the cloud world first. So you can free your security teams from the complexity of setting up and managing all of this infrastructure that's usually associated with SIEMs. In fact, with Sentinel, Microsoft does that work for you. And while it's born in the cloud, Sentinel is able to collect any data from across the enterprise, on-prem, cloud, both Microsoft Cloud and third-party clouds.
Right.
So the next part is about empowering teams with efficient and modern tools. So Sentinel includes out-of-the-box content to help your SOC do their job. We include queries for detailed analysis of the security data that you have, hunting capabilities that are built right in and use our years of experience. And of course, we're built on the strong foundation of Azure, including services like log analytics that can tear through terabytes of data in just seconds as you're hunting and investigating. In addition to the out-of-the-box queries, we've also brought the experience from teams like John's Mystic team that we've gained from years of defending Microsoft against adversaries and working with our customers to defend them against adversaries. And all of this experience and know-how is collected in our public GitHub community.
Really? Wow.
And in addition to that, we're inviting the community to come help us make Sentinel a better and better product. So security teams often spend days chasing down false alarms. That's one customer told us that out of their tens of thousands of daily alerts, they're able to only triage about half of them. It's a huge problem right now. And so the third big investment in Sentinel is bringing the power of artificial intelligence to this enormous volume of data. So we've invested heavily in AI and in automation, again, to allow the SecOps teams to focus on the most important incidents. So we've brought easy-to-use investigation graphs, automated response playbooks, and other ways to sort of get the most out of the limited resources that you have. And in fact, our customers in preview have seen their responses reduced from hours to minutes already.
So this is a fully cross-cloud solution. We've automated some of the playbooks. We have machine learning. We have artificial intelligence. And a lot of this stuff I know John showed us and the real-life practical experience that his Mystic team has brought in helping develop the product with learnings from customers and us internally.
Absolutely. I mean, our philosophy here is this is a security product for the entire enterprise, not just a piece here or a piece there, but cross-cloud, on-prem, first party, third party, the whole IT infrastructure that our customers are dealing with.
That's fantastic. So AI and automation, they're truly empowering our defenders to do more. And we're going to share some more examples of machine learning. I want to understand how we learned how we're going to minimize alert fatigue. It's the one thing we hear from SOCs continually, right? They can't respond to everything. And I heard we were able to reduce it by more than 90% based on customer feedback during the preview. Can you talk a little about that?
Yeah, this is one of my favorite statistics from our preview because the impact was just enormous on SOCs. So yeah, we're using machine learning, ML, in Azure Sentinel, and really we designed the whole product with ML right from the beginning. We've taken our years of experience building security machine learning in other places like our identity systems and across our other security products and brought it right to the customer in Azure Sentinel. So the first thing I'd say is alert fatigue is real. It's a serious problem. It's exacerbated by the fact that resourcing is thin. There aren't enough analysts in the SOC today. And so we've brought a number of ML-based approaches to sift through this sea of alerts and correlate alerts from different products to punch up the ones that matter the most for our customers. So one example is a technology that we call Fusion. And Fusion basically takes two sort of yellow alerts and fuses them into a red alert to say, hey, this alert is worth spending time on, worth investigating. Another one is our built-in machine learning detections. They're designed for security analysts and for engineers. Even if you don't have prior experience to use machine learning, you bring your data in, and we use our off-the-shelf, pre-trained, pre-built machine learning to find things in your data.
So someone like me could come in and do this.
Absolutely. Just add data, and our algorithms go to work immediately to sift through and find the things that matter the most. And customers can bring their own logs, their own data from all their applications into Sentinel, and the same machine learning models will work through them and find the important alerts and incidents.
Wow. So I'm thrilled to see that we're lowering the barrier for security experts to use machine learning and artificial intelligence, because I do believe it's going to be a differentiator to them responding more quickly to attacks. And they really don't need to invest in learning machine learning and learning artificial intelligence models to use Azure Sentinel, which will help the organizations become more secure. But can we shift gears for just 1 second?
Sure.
So one of the things I hear from customers constantly is the high total cost of ownership associated with managing, building that infrastructure, maintaining traditional SIEMs. Talk a little about how Azure Sentinel value model is addressing those concerns.
Yeah, so great point. There are really two big components to the cost of running a SIEM traditionally. The first is hardware, infrastructure, operations, staff associated with managing and maintaining. These are huge implementations at our large customers, very data intensive and compute intensive. And so just sort of buying the equipment and setting it up is very expensive. The second piece is the software price, which is also very expensive. Mm-hmm. So with Sentinel, we've taken a new approach. We're taking a cost-effective approach first. We're aiming to be a cost-effective SIEM. And so, of course, that starts because Sentinel is a cloud service. Microsoft fully manages it and fully maintains it. And then we're taking a new approach to pricing where you pay only for what you use. And so you can pay as you go and bring data in as needed. And the system just scales for you. Additionally, we're enabling data ingestion from Office 365 audit logs, Azure activity logs, and also the Microsoft threat protection solutions at no additional cost.
Really?
This will be a huge cost and complexity savings for our customers. So customers can pay as they go. Just as I said, you sort of you pay for only what you use. Or for customers that are able to make a capacity reservation, they'll have access to discounts up to 60% off of our regular pricing to help create predictability in what those costs will be.
Okay. So let's talk about how long customers actually have to commit in the capacity tier they selected. Do we lock them in? And what happens when their data ingestion and analytics modeling change? Because one of the other concerns I hear from customers is they get locked into these really inflexible contracts and they can't scale their business and they can't have any elasticity in the type of data they're looking at.
Yeah, we've heard the same thing. So providing flexibility is a critical element here. We heard this from customers loud and clear. And this is where we're different from the rest of the solutions in the market, in that we're not actually requiring an annual commitment. We'll do capacity reservations on a month-to-month basis so that customers have the ability to dial up or down their commitments as their needs change every 31 days. And so because of that, customers get predictability on the one hand, but they also have the flexibility to evolve their Sentinel installation as their own needs grow and change over time.
That's really good to know that we're addressing that concern, because it is one of the top concerns that I hear from our customers. I've always said that cybersecurity is a team sport, and we're all in this together. It's an ecosystem. So in that context, what are we doing to help the security community on a continual basis?
Well, we value the security community deeply, and we are a part of the security community. And with Sentinel, we created a SIEM that was designed from the beginning to support community engagement in solving these security problems. So you just saw how John and his team shared their expertise through our services. We have an active community on GitHub where we take contributions from across all aspects of the product from the community. We share best practices, queries, custom workbooks, and more. Even bring your own machine learning models are on our GitHub community. We talked about detection and hunting queries that are honed from Microsoft's experience defending ourselves over the years, but also from customers' experiences. So it's really great also to see that our partners and customers are starting to share their experiences on GitHub as well.
And I heard that this community is actually helping us develop new capabilities. We had a private preview, I know, then we had an extended public preview with 12,000 customers. Mm-hmm. So what capabilities and types of things have our customers helped us develop?
Yeah, we've had a fantastic experience working with the community and with our customers since our preview announcement in March. So, for example, lots of new threat detections have been created, especially machine learning-based detections based on our experience with our customers' data and working with customers to develop those detections for them. We're continuously adding new data connectors and new features for automation based on community feedback and actual customer needs. We're integrating with Azure Lighthouse, which will enable customers and service providers in particular to view Azure Sentinel instances across their different tenants in Azure as well.
That's great. And I really like that our community and Microsoft is part of the security community. It's not this, remote community, but I like that we're working together to address the global issue of increasing cyber threats. So thank you, Steve, for giving so much rich context on Azure Sentinel. I'm really looking forward to seeing the product in production and our customers.
Thanks, Ann.
Speaking of community and partnering with each other, I would like to invite Andrew Winkleman, who is the Microsoft Security Services Lead within Accenture Security, to share their experiences and plans with Azure Sentinel. Thank you for joining us, Andrew. It's great to see your collaboration throughout the preview program, and thank you for helping us design a solution that meets the requirements of a modern SOC.
Thanks, Ann. Glad to be here.
So can you tell us a little bit more about Accenture's security practice all up?
Sure. Accenture is one of the largest security services providers in the world. We provide services across all IT environments, physical, hybrid, cloud, different cloud service providers, you name it, we probably support it. My role within Accenture is helping our clients secure their on-premise and cloud environments using the Azure and Microsoft 365 security products and services. Accenture's lens is focused on the enterprise, the Global 2000, and the challenges they face in managing the costs and effectiveness of security.
So how does Azure Sentinel fit into your plans for that practice?
Azure Sentinel turbocharges our current Accenture security solutions by providing advanced feature capabilities for security analytics and enables us to spend more time customizing our solutions to client-specific requirements. We currently have 14 clients running now on our Accenture Log Analytics SIEM solution that we are going to eventually convert over to Azure Sentinel. With Azure Sentinel running on top of Log Analytics, we are able to keep our same custom use cases based on the Cusco query language and adding the power of Microsoft security investments in ML, AI, threat hunting, data connectors, ticket triage, and a separate case management functionality that makes it easier for investigation and automated response.
So what are some of the success factors that you think about when you're considering SIEM solutions?
The first one I would say is data residency, keeping your SIEM data in a specific region, but with the ability to search across all those regions. This makes it a lot easier to adhere to the data residency requirements. As an example, this is what we provide a security solution for a client where we have log analytics workspaces in the United States, Europe, Japan, and Australia. Those data sources stay in the regions, and those local servers and infrastructure log to those local workspaces that we set up. We're then able to search across all the workspaces, but the data stays local. This is really, really critical for things like GDPR. The second one I'd say is the DevOps model. Application teams use DevOps. Infrastructure teams use infrastructure as code. Why does security not use that same model? Azure in general allows us to automate the stand-up of the overall platform. With Azure Sentinel, we can now automate the deployment of the data connectors and our use cases. This further reduces the time required to roll out our security services and provides additional value to our clients. And I say the last one is the hybrid cloud support. Not everything is in Azure, unfortunately. And we wanted a solution that supported our clients in Azure, but also all the other cloud service providers and the hybrid scenarios for the clients that are going to take some time to move to the public cloud. With the use of Log Analytics Gateway, we can now support internet-restricted data center environments. This setup will enable us for critical infrastructure environments where you would not want hosts reaching directly out to the internet. An example, we're managing over 1,500 servers across a multi-cloud environment powered by Azure Sentinel and ingesting over 2 terabytes of data every single day.
Yeah, we know that support for a distributed environment is absolutely critical to our customers. And how are you getting insights across these cloud environments specific to Azure Sentinel?
That's a good question. The multi-cloud environments is what we see a lot. This includes AWS as part of the target environment, and we're also securing it in addition to Azure. How will we start off this? Well, we would start by configuring the AWS connector in Azure Sentinel Data Connector tab to start ingesting the AWS CloudTrail data logs. CloudTrail is where all the different logs send to within AWS. We would then create custom alerts based on those use cases that we want to alert on. For this scenario, we'll use alerting on the removal of the MFA or multi-factor authentication requirement on the AWS root account. If this happens, it's very, very bad things happen. So alert query would be the next thing we do in Azure Sentinel to look for this specific event. And so here we can see this actually did happen. And the next part is, we want to see why this happened. So by integrating Accenture's threat intelligence feed that we acquired a couple years ago called iDefense into Azure Sentinel via the Microsoft Security Graph API, we can check the threat intelligence on the offending identity and also IP address to help clarify if this is a malicious attack, an accident, or an insider threat scenario. By utilizing the investigative dashboard in Sentinel, we can also pivot to the corresponding alerts and then respond with the built-in SOAR capabilities within Sentinel using Azure Logic App playbooks.
Wow, that's a lot. And as we all know, multi-factor authentication, enabling it is the one most critical thing we tell our customers, right? And securing business critical applications is such an important aspect. So what scenarios do you commonly see within your customers related to business critical apps?
Yeah, that's another great question. One that we see a lot is SAP. SAP holds critical application data for a large number of our clients, and a lot of it is moving to the cloud. And so, I can walk you through our scenario. So for SAP, you have an on-premise physical data center that's hosting the SAP large instance or HANA large instance that's running SUSE Linux. That's directly connected to Azure, where all the SAP application servers are hosted. The physical data center does not allow direct internet access, so we have deployed the Log Analytics gateway to pull information from the SAP HANA large instance into Azure Sentinel. We then created alerts in Sentinel to trigger when someone makes a change to the critical SAP files, both on the Windows and the SUSE Linux platforms. As you can see, we have a couple alerts for changes to these critical SAP application files in the Azure Sentinel Case Management dashboard. This use case alerts our Accenture security operations teams when a critical SAP component is modified or deleted. In this specific use case, we are alerting on when changes to the SAP common library DLLs. So opening up the case in Azure Sentinel for our custom alert, we're able to drill down into the corresponding events in the investigative dashboard. We then can pivot to what corresponding events are linked to this use case from the same server. So we can now say with confidence which user made that change, what they changed, and what application was used to make the change. This reduces the time from hours to minutes for investigating security events across the cloud platform, infrastructure host, and events from inside the SAP application. By constantly innovating to the new, Accenture Security continues to push the boundaries for securing our clients' cloud workloads, and our SAP on Azure security solution becomes even more powerful with the release of Azure Sentinel.
That's just fantastic. That's great. I mean, the fact that you can take an application that a lot of businesses run on like SAP and reduce that detection time from hour to minutes and stop something that could be incredibly business impacting, right? And really take down a customer's environment. It's amazing. Thank you for sharing your plans for Azure Sentinel. And I'm sure these insights are going to be really helpful to the entire community. And I'm looking forward to continuing the partnership with your team. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
There is one more guest I want to invite. His name is Alex Kryline. He's the Chief Information Security Officer of Rapid Deploy, which provides cloud-native solutions to public safety and emergency communications. Rapid Deploy joined the preview program, and they started seeing early benefits for their Security Operations Center. I would love Alex to come on board and share his experiences with us. Alex is joining us today via Microsoft Teams. Welcome, Alex.
Hey, thanks, Anne. I really appreciate you having me.
So, Alex, can you tell us just a little bit more about Rapid Deploy?
Yeah, we're really excited about the products that we're able to offer to public safety and state governments. So for us, our really key focus is to try and reduce response times in emergencies. And the way that we do that is by building web and mobile applications and supporting IoT products that are really able to get a lot of value very quickly to public safety by focusing on super ease of deployment, low total cost of ownership, high features and functionality, and really effective security that meets the threat model.
Excellent. And Alex, what does your team focus on specifically?
Yeah, my security team at RapidDeploy is kind of fun and a little weird. So we're a SaaS company, and we really want to be a great SaaS company. So we really focus on software development. So for security, I actually build a lot of functional elements of security into all the policies, processes, and procedures that run my company. So like everybody from my DevOps team, my developers and engineers, even our help desk support and human resources, we're all involved in the fight of cybersecurity. And we have a small team that really focuses on the nitty-gritty stuff of actual cybersecurity operations.
Wow, Alex, that's pretty impressive. And yes, it is unique. So what made you build your solution on a cloud platform?
So for us, the cloud was the natural choice because we know that that's where all the velocity really is going into tech and IT solutions. We knew that we could get a lot of control, a lot of visibility, a lot of monitoring, and frankly, a real ease of deployment of services because of the shared responsibility model of the cloud. And it was really for us about selecting the right one based on the requirements that we really had around mission critical environments.
And you're building your solutions on top of Microsoft Azure, correct?
Yeah, so we really wanted to focus on deployment with Microsoft Azure for a couple of reasons. One, we knew it could give us a lot of flexibility that would be hard to find elsewhere, but we would be able to innovate on the platform. We'd really be able to get access to a lot of services, but especially a lot of services that focused on like our customers, our segments, our reliability requirements. And so we selected Azure because we wanted to be really big contributors to the Microsoft stack and make full utilization of the work and innovation going on throughout the world.
So clearly security is a critical component of all public safety systems. Can you tell us more about what you and your teams are concerned with today?
Yeah, so there are a couple of things that we're concerned about for public safety systems. So there are the traditional things that SaaS companies all across the globe, no matter who you are going to have to face. Application security, SDLC, like release security, DevOps implementation, infrastructure, access control, the list goes on and on. But the thing that we really also have to focus on is the threat model around public safety specifically. So we have a lot of state and local government customers who have succumbed to ransomware and huge exploitation, remote code execution, denial of service. So we know that our threat model is really high because the people who would really want to exploit public safety are super motivated and super well financed in some circumstances to combine their cybersecurity attack with a kinetic attack.
And how did you decide to use Azure Sentinel for your security operations?
So for us, Azure Sentinel was a natural choice, but we also really wanted to put it through the ringer. We really had to focus around the ability to deploy something effectively and get a full, complete deployment done because monitoring and visibility is the thing that we were primarily concerned with. And so for us, given our focus around building in Azure, we really found an ease of deployment there, which brought us back to like a great total cost of ownership, but also a really quick time to value. So we knew that we wouldn't be buying something and have it sit on the shelf for months and months and months and just kind of grown through deployment, but rather we knew that we could get something up and running quickly and effectively, but then we could utilize it like you would want to in a best-in-class SIEM for hunting, alerting, monitoring, detection, and analysis.
You know, that's a really important point, Alex. At Microsoft, we are on a mission to empower organizations, even those who don't have huge security teams, to easily secure their environments. So it's really nice to see that that resonated with you and your team. But let's take it a step further. Can you give us examples of how you were using Azure Sentinel and the benefits you have seen for your Security Operations Center?
Yeah, so for us, Anne, deploying Azure Sentinel was really effective and very quick, but we needed to do it over multiple subscriptions in multiple regions, and we have a little bit of a complex estate that we have to manage. But we also have to be really confident that we're able to ingest data from our IoT solutions sitting on-prem with customers, ingest data from endpoint detection and response, the network telemetry, the WAF data, all of the things that really constitute not just the perimeter security, but the inner workings and functionality of our platform have to be really well integrated into Azure Sentinel. And we found that through our test environment, we found that through evaluation, and we found that by working in the real world with it as well.
And with a lean security team, how are you meeting your goals? And are you automating your processes to meet those goals?
So there's probably two ways that we're automating our processes with Azure Sentinel. The first one is we actually just derive a lot of natural benefit from enabling it because it collects so many more logs than just the normal analytics workspaces do. So my developers are actually the ones who primarily benefit from this because they're able to see challenges and errors and get a better analysis workspace to be better software developers. And so that's been a nice outcome that we didn't expect. But separately from that, I've automated Azure Sentinel by creating playbooks and triggers and rules and trying to, even though it's early days for us, build a really good development around Jupyter Notebooks and the ability to hunt inside of the platform. And that's predicated on integrating all this data, and it's predicated on being actually quite precise. And we found those outcomes to be really right in our strike zone at Rapid Deploy.
So, Alex, we have many customers evaluating SIEM solutions. What additional insights can you share with your peers?
So I'd say when you're going through to identify a SIEM, there's a couple of really important functions to look at. I think people forget the time to value function. I think it's really important to not just evaluate the technology, but really evaluate its utilization in your organization. And so finding something that has a really short life cycle on time to value is huge, because then you can demonstrate that, which you can rarely do in cybersecurity. But the second piece is you really want to make sure that you have a platform that doesn't just integrate with all your security tooling, but also really integrates with your network stack, integrates with your application, integrates with outside functions and features. And so then I think the last part would be to really understand the cost analysis around it. And we were very impressed with what we found. It was super on market for Azure Sentinel, but also came with all of this great ease of deployment and capability to integrate data.
Thank you, Alex, for sharing your insights today. I'm thrilled to see how Azure Sentinel is helping your team strengthen the security of our public safety systems. And we really appreciate your active feedback to the product team.
Thanks, Ann. You can count on that. And we really appreciate the partnership here. It's been great for us, and we look forward to seeing what it does in the future.
And thank you to all of you for joining us today. The cloud is unlocking new capabilities. This is why we're investing in the cloud and artificial intelligence to work for you, to extend and empower your defenders who are the key to avoiding future cyber threats. Azure Sentinel is just the latest capability in our broad portfolio available to you to strengthen your security operations. And don't forget, our experts are still available to answer your questions in the chat window. In closing, I encourage you to join the community on GitHub and start using Azure Sentinel today. Thank you.